You know that feeling when you're just done, when even the smallest tasks feel like overwhelming and you start questioning why you're even doing this thing in the first place? I've been there. And today I want to share with you how I've learned to stop that burnout before it even happens. Trust me, this journey has been all about lessons learned the hard way, and I'd like to share them with you. Let me start by sharing my own story. About a decade ago, I was juggling way too much. I was working a full-time corporate safety job. I was building my first entrepreneurial business. I had family, projects, all the while trying to maintain some semblance of a social life and navigating a divorce. I was fueled by the belief that I could handle anything if I just pushed a little harder. And I would tell myself, it's just this week, and then I'll rest. Just one more week, and then I'll rest. But of course, that week turned into the next week, and the cycle continued. And eventually, I hit a wall, and it was a very hard wall. I remember waking up one morning and looking at my to-do list and feeling nothing but emptiness. I had not an ounce left to give. I was completely burned out. And it wasn't just physical exhaustion, it was emotional, it was mental, it was spiritual exhaustion as well. And that's the thing about burnout. It doesn't just zap your energy, it also eats up all of your joy. So, what exactly is burnout? This is a state of chronic stress that leads to physical and emotional exhaustion, cynicism, and a sense of reduced accomplishment. It's more than just feeling tired. It's this deep, pervasive exhaustion that makes you feel disconnected from all of the things that you once loved. The World Health Organization actually classifies burnout as an occupational phenomenon, and it's often linked to work stress. But burnout can happen in any area of your life, whether you're caregiving, managing a household, or even pursuing a passion project, as I was. It usually happens when we are giving too much without allowing time for replenishment. And the all or nothing mindset often plays a big role here. We think if we're not giving 100% of ourselves, we're failing, but that's just not true. One of the most powerful things that I've learned to recognize is how to recognize those early signs of burnout, because once you're fully in it, it's a lot harder to pull yourself out. So here are some of the things that I really started noticing in myself when I was coming up on burnout. The first one is emotional numbness. I began feeling really disconnected from myself, from others. I felt like I was just going through the motions of life. I got really irritable. So things that normally wouldn't bother would really get under my skin, and my patience and my tolerance were extremely impacted. I was in a state of constant fatigue. Even after a full night's sleep, I just felt exhausted. There was no catching up on sleep. There was just this consistent feeling of tiredness. And there was also this loss of joy. So I stopped really enjoying the things that used to make me feel alive. And I also noticed that I stopped pursuing the things that would make me feel joy as well. Now, when I started recognizing these signs, I realized it was both my body and my mind crying out for help. I needed to slow down, but I didn't know how. I needed to learn how to prevent burnout before it reached that boiling point. Now, one of the most transformative mindset shifts I made was letting go of the all or nothing mentality. I used to think that if I couldn't give 100% of myself, I shouldn't even bother. But when we operate like that, we're constantly setting ourselves up for failure because none of us can give 100% all of the time. We're not robots. So instead, I started embracing the idea of doing enough. Not perfect, not everything, just enough. If I was tired, it was okay to do the minimum. If I needed a break, it was okay to rest. This shift allowed me to honor my limits and also listen to my body. And when I started doing that, I noticed that my energy and joy began to return. So, what are some practical ways to stop the burnout before it takes over? I want to share a few strategies that have been absolute game changers for me. Number one, set boundaries. This is a big one. I learned to say no to things that weren't aligned with my priorities. And man, as a recovering people pleaser, that was so hard. I started putting limits on my work hours and making sure that I had time for just me. The second one is scheduling my downtime. I realized that rest was not something that just naturally happened when everything else was done, because I would inevitably find something else to do. My downtime had to be scheduled in, it had to be prioritized, it had to be written down. And now I block out time in my calendar for rest, just like I would an important meeting. And the third one is to delegate and ask for help. I used to think I had to do it all on my own, but that's simply not true. Asking for help is literally the bravest thing that you can do. I learned to delegate tasks that didn't require specifically my attention and to call in support when I really needed it. And I want to share a story of someone who embodies these principles beautifully. I have a client, we're going to call her Sarah, and she's a small business owner, a mom, and an all-around amazing human. And when she came to me, she was on the brink of burnout. She was working 14-hour days, trying to juggle a side business, her kids, and everything else in between. And in our work together, Sarah made a decision. She started waking up 15 minutes earlier each day, not to work, but to have some quiet time to herself. She used this time to meditate, to journal, or just to breathe and soak in the silence of the morning. And that small shift, that little bit of time just for her, changed everything. She started feeling more grounded, more centered, and more capable of handling whatever was going to come at her that day. She learned that burnout isn't inevitable. It can be prevented with intention and care. And here are a few more extra bonus tips that I found incredibly helpful in preventing burnout. Doing a daily check-in. I take a few minutes each day to check in with myself and tune into my capacity for the day. So, how am I feeling? What do I need? What is my emotional state? What is my physical state? As a woman and a very cyclical human being, this piece has been absolutely life-changing. Noting where I'm at and adjusting my to-do list for the day according to my capacity has both allowed me to be more productive and more balanced. The next one is prioritizing sleep and nutrition. And this is not new information. Burnout often starts with physical exhaustion. So you've got to make sleep a priority and nourish your body with real whole foods. It makes such a difference. I often noticed when I was at the point of reaching burnout, I was making decisions around my diet that were not good decisions. I was doing the fast and easy meals, the trips to the fast food joints, and not nourishing my body in a time that when it is so important to nourish your body. And the last one is to take micro breaks throughout your day. So I take 5-minute breaks throughout just to step outside, breathe, take a stretch, have a dance. And these small moments of rest really help me to recharge so that I can keep going without burning out. What it also does is it allows me to really focus into the work that I'm doing when I know that I have a break coming up. And if you're interested in exploring this Pomodoro technique of 25 minutes of focused work and then a 5-minute break, I've got some awesome YouTube videos that will support you in doing that. All right, here are my final thoughts. Burnout is real, and it's something that many of us struggle with. We don't have to. We can choose a different path, one that honors our needs, that allows us to rest, and that values progress over perfection. And let me tell you, when you begin to step into this more embodied, more mindful self, your productivity will actually skyrocket, because this cycle of surge and burnout now becomes a more gentle ebb and flow. If you've been feeling burned out, I want you to know that you're not alone and it's never too late to make a change. Start small. This is really important. Start small. Take one action today that nourishes you, that helps you to rest and brings you back to yourself. And of course, I'd love to hear from you. What is the one small thing that you can do today to protect your energy and avoid the burnout? Share it in the comments and let's support one another and inspire one another on this journey of gentle growth and well-being. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to get more gold nuggets like this. Have a beautiful day, my friends.